No, we can like kind of move on to the Suns after we just glazed the Lakers. I'm so sorry, Nuggets fans.
I'm so sick.
But Anthony Davis did a great job of exploiting, obviously, the Suns' most obvious weakness, which is their lack of size. As my best friend and I said in July or August, Yusuf Nurkic had 4 turnovers, 4 fouls, and 1 basket against Anthony Davis and was on the bench in the fourth quarter. And the Suns were forced to use Kevin Durant, who rarely guards centers, on Davis instead. And what did Caitlin and I say? You need a small ball 5, a versatile big that can come in there and play small with you, but you need someone because Plumlee and Nurkic were both benched. And then what did Caitlin and I brought in? Once you have, of course, they got Tyus Jones. You have a real point guard. You've now got Booker and Beal on the wings. You've got Durant as your 4. And now you are very small at the 5. And the defense is so glaringly, obviously a problem.
And not just that they're so small at the 5, but like Mason Plumlee and Nurkic are not strong bigs. So they're almost like weak at the 5 too. Like they're
not strong at their position.
Smaller, exactly. Like I've seen smaller 5s work way harder and work some other centers way more than those two. Those two are like, oh, you have you're not going to go up on it. You're not going to post him up really. Like you're literally twice his size. What are you doing? Like they're not aggressive and they don't put in like the effort that you need from a big, especially against Anthony Davis.
Especially against Anthony Davis. And Caitlin and I have been chirping about this because Kevin Garnett went on to say that the Suns are, sneaky contenders, and everyone's been talking about how good the Suns are. And I understand it's because you can't underestimate people like Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant. But you cannot win in the West without defense. Like you simply can't do it. You cannot go against the Wolves with no defense. You cannot go against the Thunder with no defense. And besides our showing the other night, you cannot go against the Nuggets. And especially if you're making it to the finals, there's no way you are beating the Boston Celtics without defense.
Yeah, and that was like, and honestly, it was like, this is the same-ish. It's a little bit different, obviously, with Tyus Jones and everything like that now. And now, obviously, you have Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal all healthy, hopefully for the whole season. There's nothing I love more than basketball being played with your best players healthy. I hate injuries. I hate them so much.
I wish everyone was healthy all of the time so we never have any qualms about who wins the championship. Yes, I 100% agree.
Yes. And so but that was their exact problem last year in the playoffs. I went to a couple of the Suns Wolves game, or I went to a Suns Wolves game, and then I went to a Nuggets Wolves game with Spencer. But like the Suns Wolves game that I went to, was the most competitive of the 4 because they did get swept by the Wolves. And that was the problem the first 3 games. And that was the only thing that they finally showed up with in game 4 was a little bit better defense, but they were already 3 losses deep. They were 3 losses deep because they could not play defense. They cannot play in these hyper competitive games with no bench and little defense.
Especially in those clutch moments when you're again, it was like a 6-point or 8-point game probably in the last few minutes. And they surrendered 71 second half points to the Lakers. The first half, it was going again how I expected because they shot the lights out. And Caitlin and I have been preaching this. Like you and I have both said.
They're going to start out damn well.
And they could even finish well against a lot of teams in the NBA because of their offensive firepower. It's hard to stop that when you have so many threats. Of course, you're spacing the floor out. But when you get on the other end, that's where you have the problem. So when you have nights like how the Nuggets just played, when the shots aren't falling, you're vulnerable. If you can't If you can't at least get a stop on the other end when you're not making anything, you're going to get blown out. And, again, they were swept last spring because they struggled to score. And so I feel like they have the same problems. And, of course, they have Mike. Do you know how to say his last name?
Which one?
Budenholzer?
Budenholzer,
It's a terrible name.
It is. It's a bad name.
I'm so sorry, Mike. I'm just going to call you Mike. Of course, they have Mike now instead of Frank Vogel. And I think it's just like obvious. And I'm going to put the clip in here or at some point, like right after this, where Caitlin and I talk about how Nurkic and Plumlee are not good options, and they're not good options, especially when you get into the playoffs. And if you have to bench them in this was their second game. Yes. Okay. I was like first or second. When you have to bench them in the second game of the season in the fourth quarter, it is not looking good for you.
Yeah. And I want to show this too, because I feel like this is kind of like a good story of the game for them. So on the Reel app, which is something that Spencer and I use all the time.
This is what I use. Mainly during the games. It's so great. And if you can't watch the game, they have like a play-by-play. It'll say Devin Booker missed 28, foot 3 or a game tying foul. It's a great app.
Yes. And so this has a shot chart of all of their misses. And the Suns not only were missing a ton around the perimeter, but from like the free throw line, the entire paint, everywhere in the paint, they had misses on misses. Okay, yeah. They had misses here. Like crazy in the paint. And it's just like you are right under the basket. Those need to be the shots that you're making. Those should be like automatic buckets for you if you're a center.
Yes. That's what, Nurkic, sorry, what was it? He had 4 turnovers, 4 fouls, and 1 basket. If you're under the rim, bestie, you should just be laying it up, getting it up there, tipping it in, getting rebounds.
That's what I'm saying. And he's not like willing to post people up either. And so that's like, I don't know, again, it's just like aggressiveness and effort, and I see nothing. I think that they're going to be a great regular season team. I think that you're able to play tons of these teams in the East and even the West,
and put up big
throughout
numbers
the season, and exactly outscore them, and that's how you win. But once you get to the playoffs and you're starting to play the better teams, especially if you're a lower seeded team. These higher seed teams are going to absolutely annihilate you with bench and defense, and you're just not going to get past the first round with that. Like literally, they didn't play Grayson Allen, they didn't play Damian Lee. I'm like, if your starters are playing 35 to 40 minutes, and only like 4 other guys on your team are playing 15 minutes, you are overplaying your starters. And then you didn't even play, like, you have other guys that you can at least try out, Damian Lee, Grayson Allen, etc. Why aren't you doing that? Like, why aren't you seeing if you can get something else going? Like, I never understood that.